My name's Laura Krouse, and this is called Abbe Hills Farm. It's near Mount Vernon in eastern Iowa in Lynn County. And we grow some corn and some hay and some soybeans sometimes, but mostly what we grow is vegetables for CSA and for a few institutional buyers. The CSA has about 120 families, and some of them have bigger shares than others, so it's the equivalent of about 170 regular size shares. So we started harvesting from the hoop houses in April, I think, for restaurants and direct sales, just out of my refrigerator. People come and get stuff from the little store that is the refrigerator. And then we started the CSA the first week in June, and we'll go till the third week in October every week. So that's 21 weeks. And then in the past, we've always gone to the Mount Vernon Farmers Market in November. So as soon as the CSA gets done, we go to the indoor market until Thanksgiving. And then usually after Thanksgiving, I'm tired and we stop for a while. Then we start planting again. February 6th is the day we plant onions, because that's the day we have more than 10 hours of sunlight. The hoop houses are super important to the vegetable operation, to my whole income. My guess, after seeing them fall down and thinking about it more, my guess is about half of my income is based on the fact that I have hoop houses. So we start in February growing plants, bedding plants to put out in the gardens, and everything in the garden that's not direct seeded, which is quite a lot of stuff, is started as bedding plants inside the hoop house. So that goes on starting early in the spring, and we'll grow things in there, the bedding plants, until the 1st of October probably. And then we set plants out and we put high value crops in the hoop house. So lettuce, beets, carrots, turnips, Swiss chard, stuff people really like and make good money. Those are all inside. And then in October, when the CSA ends, then I fill the hoop house up with high value crops, lettuce primarily, and greens to sell up through Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's at least half of my gross income is based on the fact that I have the hoop house either to grow the bedding plants or to actually grow the crop itself in the ground. Last Monday there was 20% chance of rain. And so we went to the field and we were working, and I went in the house about 11 and I said, boy, it's really raining in Des Moines. It's kind of moving kind of fast. I suppose we better get wrapped up. So I got everybody out of the field and out of here by noon, and I closed the big door on the shed, and I went up to take care of my chickens and go eat my lunch, and the big storm got closer, and I thought, I should probably go close up those buildings. That looks like it's got some wind behind it. And literally the time it took me to walk from the front door to the pickup, it became too dangerous to leave. So my hoop houses were open. And I went in the house and the wind blew for 45 minutes. And 3 trees hit the house, and the chicken house went flying, and the chickens went flying, I think. And the newer hoop house lasted about 30 minutes. I could see them I was actually standing on my porch. And my house is a basement, so I was technically very close to the basement while this was happening. But I saw the big hoop house go, and then the older hoop house, which is way overbuilt, like absurdly overbuilt, lasted till the last 5 minutes. And I think what happened was that the shade cloth came free and acted as a big sail and pulled the whole building to the east. And then once it got started, it came almost all the way down. It was very interesting. You could hear the freight train the whole time. So I kept thinking, well, there must be a tornado coming, because you can hear that train sound. But it just kept being the train sound. And then it kind of went away. We got 0.8 of an inch of rain out of it. That was nice, but it was kind of a hard way to get it. The gardens were a total mess. So we had cultivated a lot just not that long ago, and the soil sort of got polished in a way. So it got pounded, and then it looked like dirt moved laterally, and all the vegetables were flipped over on their head or on their side facing east. And then anything like cucumbers that were set and were now exposed got like sandblasted. So they have a lot of damage from sand, dirt. The soil just became immediately crusted and kind of plastered over. And everything blew down. And some things came back, but we had a really big disaster in the peppers. We have a lot of peppers. That's one of my favorite crops, by the way, is peppers. The plants blew over, and the really big, giant peppers at the bottoms of the plants that we were sort of stockpiling to turn red, they all got exposed to the sun, and they all got sun scald the next day. So actually yesterday, we just spent the day throwing away the most beautiful peppers, picking them off the bottoms of the plants and getting them out of there so the peppers can start over again. That was very sad. My corn is really a mess. I grow an heirloom corn that's been on this farm since 1903, and this was a very critical year to get a good seed crop, and I don't think it's going to happen. The plants actually didn't blow down they came back up, which is remarkable for open pollinated corn, but the leaves all got stripped off, so it kind of looks like a field of bamboo. And then some of the ears got loosened from the stem, so they're not going to make kernels. The ones that the ears are still attached, I don't think they have enough leaves to actually make viable kernels to make seed. And it's absolutely certain none of my neighbors are going to come combine it for me because they're going to be overwhelmed with their own stuff. So I'm planning on hand picking some corn in the fall and trying to get enough ears to make a couple bushels of seed so I can plant next year with fresh seed. It's kind of a tough situation. I'd really hate to lose that corn. It's pretty important to my business. I had planned to enlarge my chicken business because I was having such a nice corn crop this year, and so now that's all changed. So that's kind of serious. The big high tunnel just flipped inside out and went south. So it was facing east-west. It went south, and the actual high tunnel footprint's still sitting there. The irrigation lines got all tangled up, and some of them ended up under the building. So we've tried to switch to this oscillating sprinkler irrigation rather than trying to figure out how to get those hoses back in place at this time of year. So we've just been using the sprinkler to try to keep stuff in that big tunnel alive, because some of it's kind of near harvest and might be okay if the deer don't eat it. And in the older tunnel, you will see in your video, I'm sure, half of it collapsed and the west half is still standing.